So do you plan to sell or to design your own grinder?
Never.
Do you have any plans?
We went down that path already, actually. Before the niche existed, I had a big problem, which is there was no machine under $1,000 that made espresso of any quality. The closest, I would say, was the Anthem. And that's like $1,200, and that was the grinder I had at the time. And so I went out at the time looking to see if any Chinese companies made a knockoff grinder. I found one that made a copy of one of the Italian grinders. Now I'm blanking on which one it was. And then I modified it.
Is it Hey Cafe?
Hey Cafe, but Hey Cafe had copied a 64 mil burr, flat burr Italian grinder. The Super Jolly. They had copied the Super Jolly.
Okay.
And by the way, Hey Cafe got bought by Malkonik.
Hemro, right?
A Hemro Group.
Yeah.
So this was a Chinese company, but owned by a German company. And the quality was okay, but it's you know, it isn't a single dosing. It has a lot of retention, blah. And I really hated selling a product that someone else made that I modified because I wasn't in control. So they would change little things like remove the coating on the chute, and then we'd have retention, and I couldn't fix them. So a lack of control over a product you sell is a big problem, and that comes with outsourcing. So that's why it's made right here. We put about $1 million into trying to design our own grinder, and the goal was to do essentially an EK, so like 90 mil burrs. But with direct dosing. And we worked originally with Gorilla, makes burrs, and then we moved to using SSP, and we designed one, we CNC'd it, and spent about 1.5 years on this. And in the end, we built the prototype, and it was better than most grinders out there, but it had, what we saw was a few really hard problems. Like retention actually was really hard to deal with, and
how high was the retention at the time? How high was the retention they were talking?
Essentially, the retention is the same that you see in the Mythos, which is if you open up a Mythos, you find a lot of retained grinds in there.
Okay.
And so the issue is that it was quote unquote zero retention in the sense that what you put in, you got the same way out. But what would happen is there would be some basically fresh grinds would push the old ones out. So every time you ground, you would get a mix of fresh and old. So when I mean retention, I don't mean grams in equals grams out. I mean beans in equals beans out. That what comes out is freshly ground. And that, I mean, until I actually took apart the EG1, the Weber EG1, I didn't actually know how people dealt with this problem. And he deals it with these wipers, and they're made out of Teflon. He gives them to you as replaceable parts. And that grinder is very good on this problem. So, and the niche has got a little bit where they give you a little bit of the previous grind. So they're more grams in equals grams out, but not beans in equals beans out. But we're talking about 4 grams typically with the niche is from the previous. So essentially, I spent $1 million on this, and we looked at it, and we said, okay, there actually are some really hard problems. But there's another reason why we didn't go into grinders, and that's that grinders are heavy things made of a lot of metal. And in order for the business model to work, you need to ship these by boat. And if you ship it by airplane, it'll be too expensive to ship. So you ship it by boat. If it ships by boat, it has to go either to a warehouse or a reseller. The reseller is going to require a 40% margin. Okay? So immediately the price is going to go up by 40% because I've gone down this route. Okay? And as soon as you go the reseller route, you're no longer actually selling to clients. You're not selling to end users. You're selling to resellers. And Slayer found this out the hard way. They made an amazing espresso machine that the resellers didn't want. And the resellers sabotaged the Slayer's theme and killed the company. And they had to fire sale it to the Italians. So that was the reason I didn't want to go into grinders. Is the only, and 2 people have kind of cracked this, right? Niche and Cafetech. They have managed to make really good grinders that aren't too heavy. and both of them sell direct exclusively. And I think that is a way to crack that. But if you're going to make a big grinder, and ours was big, it's going to have to go on boats. It's going to have to go to resellers. It's going to be expensive, and you have to do large runs. And those resellers are going to be anti-innovation. They want a product that goes into a box. They don't have to think about. Off it goes. So no, we're not going to make a grinder. And I would love to see Niche make a flat burr large grinder, but I don't know that it will ever make economic sense for them to do it because they're a small company enjoying spectacular success with a crazy good value grinder, right? 500 pounds for proper espresso quality is unbeatable.
Yeah, agreed.